There are clusters of firearm violence in King County.
Senior Deputy Prosecutor Carissa Taylor is part of a team studying firearm violence in King County.
We keep really good data on how many people are shot and killed, but the question was broader. How many firearms are actually being fired every year in King County? And no one had any idea.
They focus on 8 jurisdictions that have 95% of the shootings in the county, like Seattle, Burien, and Federal Way, and tallied those numbers. How many homicides, injury shootings, and so-called shots fired incidents? As you can see here in orange and red, almost half of the shooting victims in 2017 were under the age of 25. 83% of the victims are male. Taylor explains how those stats can be applied.
What are some strategies in the community that we can do in partnership together? What does public health think about these numbers? What does public health have a strategy about victims under the age of 25?
Even more stunning, more than half the shooting victims seen here in green are African American. Researchers also found that although Seattle as a city had the most homicides and injury shootings, the majority of those 2 crimes happened outside the city limits, predominantly in South King County. If the county finances the study to continue, Taylor and her team want to track the guns used in those crimes.
Was the firearm stolen? Was it stolen out of a car? Was it stolen out of a home? Was it stolen from a federally licensed firearm dealer? We'd like to try and gather data around the source of the firearm.
The idea behind the research, in order to solve a problem, you have to understand it. In Seattle, Elisa Hahn, King 5 News.